Members, please find your seats. We have business before the body today. Members, we are back in session. Members, we have guests with us in the assembly today. If we could have your attention, members. Members, if we could have your attention, we have special guests with us in the assembly today. Mr. Medina, I believe you have guests with us in the gallery today. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It is my pleasure to welcome employees of the California Promise Program who are visiting from my district and are in the gallery. The California Promise is a project that works with 14 through 16-year-olds who are SSI recipients to learn specific activities which result in brighter educational and employment outcomes. The California Promise is a model demonstration program that will serve at least 1,500 children over the course of 5 years. The program works with participants, their families, and 5 specific California state departments that will participate in the development, review, and collaboration of this model program. Members, let's please give them a warm welcome.
Dr. Weber, I believe you have guests. Members, please give Dr. Weber some room. Dr. Weber, you have guests with us in the Assembly today.
Yes, I do. Mr. Speaker and members of the Assembly, it's always difficult to bring young people so far away, all the way from San Diego to the Capitol, and we often have an opportunity to welcome so many young people from around the immediate area. So I'm very pleased today to have with me two specific groups. One is the 79th Assembly District Advisory Council. These are young people who have a mission to help other young people, primarily in the 79th Assembly District, to become effective voices in government and to grow as leaders in the community. They've organized numerous workshops and seminars for young people in the district and have done a phenomenal job. They're here today. We have with us the president of the Advisory Council, George Harris III. He's a co-chair with Kennedy Stantz, who's co-chair. Wave your hand. Thank you. Kendall Stantz, who's our vice chair, and Brianna Banks, who's our secretary. Let's welcome the advisory committee from the 79th Assembly District. Thank you. In addition to them, we have with us also today, some of you have heard me talk about a group called Diamonds in the Rough, founded by Dr. Deborah Maxey, who is the advisor of this group at Crawford High School. For the past 20 years. She's also currently the vice principal of the school and our new commissioner on our state aid commission here in California. This group was formed of young people who had issues of attendance, attitude, academic excellence, and those kinds of things, but she knew they were diamonds in the rough. And so this group was called Diamonds in the Rough. And some of you heard me talk about them because it was this group of young people who worked their way to go to South Africa with me for several years. So we're very honored to have them here. We have a class for them at San Diego State teaching African American history. The club has become so popular that kids come after school on their own, and it's a group of young people that are very diverse from all the different backgrounds in San Diego. Crawford is one of our schools of tremendous challenge, but at the same time, tremendous opportunity. We want to welcome them to the Capitol Day. Welcome, Ms. Maxey and the Diamonds in the Rough.
Members, moving to business on the daily file. Second reading, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1691, 2148, 2371, 2385, 1675, 1556 with amendments, 1562 with amendments, 1683 with amendments, 1944 with amendments, 2040 with amendments, 2140 with amendments, 2334 with amendments, 2365 with amendments, 2392 with amendments, 2472 with amendments, 2490 with amendments, 2518 with amendments, 2676 with amendments, 2768 with amendments, 2817 with amendments, and 2818 with amendments.
All bills will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Moving to the file, members, file items 22 through 25 shall be continued. On Assembly third reading, file items 26 through 35, pass and retain. We're going to pass temporarily on file item 36. We're going to take up file item 37 by Mr. Thurmond. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2429 by Assembly Member Thurmond, enact relating to school bonds.
Mr. Thurmond, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a bill about how schools raise money to modernize and revitalize schools, to make sure that they are ADA compliant, and to make sure that they are retrofitted seismically. Essentially, how schools use bonds for that work. And this bill raises the caps on how much money a school district can raise through its bond program. The caps today are only being raised to keep pace with inflation. The bonds themselves still require voter approval, and these bonds will help small school districts and districts with low property values to be able to meet their needs for retrofitting seismically and keeping their schools ADA safe. I would ask for your aye vote on AB 2429.
Thank you, Mr. Thurmond. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 25. Measure passes. Members, moving back to file item 36, AB 1665 by Ms. Bonilla. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1665 by Assemblymember Bonilla and others, an act relating to taxation, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Ms. Bonilla, you may open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. AB 1665 affords Contra Costa County residents the opportunity to weigh in on the pressing transportation needs of the county. Existing law only authorizes the county itself to bring forth to the voters a transactions and use tax to fund transportation programs and projects. This bill simply and only shifts the current authority from the county to the Contra Costa Transportation Authority itself in order to improve the efficiency of local government and allow residents of the county to vote on a measure this November. Due to this, it does have an urgency clause and requires 54 votes. I would ask you to vote aye and join me on this bipartisan measure, AB 1665.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla. Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise in support of AB 1665, and as a co-author of the bill as amended, I'd like to first thank our member from Concord for graciously agreeing to amend the bill so that we can remove opposition, which we were successful in doing. This is a good bill for supporting good stewardship of taxpayer dollars. It is transferring the transportation sales tax money recipient from the County of Contra Costa to the authority, Contra Costa Transportation Authority, which has an excellent record of delivering transportation projects on time, within budget, if not under budget, and with local accountability. This is one that has no opposition, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote, remembering that this needs a 2/3 vote only because it's an urgency. We have deadlines affecting the local community of this summer, and again, respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Mr. Frazier, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support as a proud joint author of this measure to shift the current Transportation Transactions and Use Authority of Contra Costa County to the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. As we work to fulfill the state's $8 billion a year shortfall in transportation funding, we must also ensure that local agencies and their constituents have the ability to generate additional funding for critical transportation projects. CCTA has a proven track record of delivering critical transportation infrastructures, as my colleague and I have both served on that authority, and we know the good work that they do. I do commend my colleague from Concord for her work on this bill and look forward to continuing to work with you as this bill moves forward. I strongly urge my colleagues' aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Seeing no additional discussion or debate on this item, Ms. Bonilla, you may close if you wish.
I would ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 67, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 67, no 0 on the bill. File item 38, AB 2088 by Mr. Linder. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2088 by Assemblymember Linder and others, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. Linder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Hit and run accidents have reached epidemic proportions in California, and unfortunately, there's no sign of them slowing down. CHP has cited an increase in hit and run incidents from 73,000 in 2014 to 79,000 in 2015. I stand before this body on my tireless quest to build more accountability into our current penalty system. AB 2088 applies specifically to hit-and-run drivers who injure an individual but enter into a plea bargain agreement where the sentence is reduced to hit-and-run with property damage. Under current law, the driver can settle in court and only have to pay a couple $100 fine. AB 2088 corrects this injustice by requiring the immediate 6-month license suspension or court-ordered community service for the defendants in these case scenarios. So thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close her roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 70, noes 2. Measure passes. File items 39 through 43 pass and retain. Moving to file item 44, AB 2819. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2819 by Assembly Member David Chu, an act relating to unlawful detainer proceedings.
Mr. Chu, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a bill that will protect tenants from being unfairly placed on a tenant blacklist, which would jeopardize their credit and ability to find future housing. Under current law, court records and eviction lawsuits, known as unlawful detainers or UDs, become public after 60 days, unless a tenant wins before that deadline. While UDs are supposed to be heard within 20 days, with recent budget cuts and court closures, delay often pushes these hearings beyond 60 days. Why is this a problem? After the 60-day mark, a tenant's information is automatically made public, even if he or she is eventually never evicted. In other words, a tenant is found guilty before being proven innocent. Companies publish lists of these tenant names, information that remains on a tenant's credit report for up to 7 years, jeopardizing one's ability to obtain housing. Even if a tenant wins her case after 60 days, or landlord eventually decides not to pursue it, she could still end up on the tenant blacklist. There's no mechanism for correction. Landlords are unable to distinguish between problematic and innocent tenant applicants, so they screen out the latter. The affordable housing crisis is exacerbated for thousands of innocent families across our state. In San Francisco, we're talking 500 eviction lawsuits a year, not heard until after the 60-day mark. In San Diego, 1,500. In Los Angeles, 6,000. This bill will prevent the blacklisting of innocent tenants whose credit and reputations can be ruined by requiring that they not be listed unless a landlord prevails in the eviction. My staff and I have worked hard to address stakeholder concerns to balance the protection of innocent families while ensuring landlords have access to timely and accurate information regarding prospective tenants. We've taken a series of amendments based on comments received from the California Apartment Association, and I'm pleased that we've been able to reach a final compromise. We made sure that new language tracks old, allow parties to stipulate to masking without making it mandatory on a court, allow landlords to pursue evidence at UD trials regarding those landlords who they believe are so-called serial abusers, and provide that tenant records will be automatically unsealed if the landlord wins, even after the 60-day deadline. Nothing in current law or this bill would prevent a landlord from requesting references from a prospective tenant's past landlords. With that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do have to rise in opposition because we are told that this bill, two things have happened. One is we've got a balance here that protects tenants from unfairly having perhaps the suggestion out there that they are deadbeats. And also that we've removed with the amendments the Apartment Association's opposition. And let me correct the record. The balance has hardly been appropriately struck here. We all know because of the impact of the budget on the courts, UD cases are sometimes now taking much longer than 60 days, and what happens is not that we've closed one loophole, but instead we have opened very much a different loophole, and now it is possible for tenants to have masked what are in fact serious failures to pay the rent. In addition, it is simply an economic fact that once the tenant has vacated the property, the landlord no longer has an economic incentive to pursue to judgment that unlawful detainer action because you've gotten what you want as the landlord, and that is the deadbeat tenant out. This bill will provide a loophole allowing those tenants who could in fact be successfully pursued to judgment if in fact it were economical for the landlord to now have those claims that are entirely legitimate masked. That is a violation, frankly, of what this legislature said in the very masking law we're changing is public policy. Permission to read, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection.
I'm reading from SB 892, passed in 1991, the Legislative Council's Digest, quote, "It is the policy of the state of California to promote open access to public records. It is in the interests of the public to assure, to the greatest extent possible, that there is open public access to court records, including civil case files, that means these very actions that we are now reversing over 2 decades of state policy. But wait, we're told, the Apartment Association is off this bill. They're no longer in opposition. Not true. The California Southern Cities Apartment Association remains opposed. The Apartment Association of Orange County remains opposed. The East Bay Rental Housing Association remains opposed. So does the North Valley Property Owners Association and the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles and the San Diego County Apartment Association and the Santa Barbara Rental Property Association. I think I've named the apartment associations in the vast majority of the districts of the members of this floor. They remain opposed. Okay, one group bought it. But the rest of your associations remain opposed because they remain committed to knowledge, openness of court, and transparency of court records, which is what this legislature stood up for in 1991. Let's not turn our backs. Let's not do something different this time. Let's not open a new loophole. I urge a no vote.
Mr. Stone, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I want to thank the author for bringing this forward. The law that was talked about that's very, very old has a different effect when tenants are trying to work out the situation with their landlords, and in fact they end up on a blacklist that they cannot come off of. In committee, we heard plenty of testimony about those concerns, and we have families that potentially go into homelessness because they're not able to find in very difficult markets appropriate housing. The author has taken several amendments since this bill came out of judiciary on a very strong vote because the author is committed to continuing to work with the apartment associations and make sure that the process built around this is in fact fair, so that if you have recalcitrant tenants, those are not what's being masked. But where the tenant is in fact winning, where the tenant is in fact doing their best to solve a problem, move on to additional housing, they don't end up on a blacklist. They then don't end up not ever being considered for housing and add to problems in other parts of our communities. This is truly a balanced bill. It is well thought out. The author has been working very hard with the opponents to try and make sure that we've got a solution here that is not unduly burdensome on the landlords, but gives these tenants a bit of a break and an opportunity to find housing. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Seeing no additional discussion or debate on this item, Mr. Chu, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, I want to thank my colleagues for their consideration of this, as well as the discussion in our Judiciary Committee. And let me say a few things. We made amendments last week on the floor, last week on Monday, last week on Thursday, to address the issues, and this is why the California Apartment Association at this time has agreed to this as a final compromise. And let me just summarize some of those amendments in case it's not clear. There are amendments that allow landlords to pursue evidence at UD trials regarding those tenants that they believe are serial abusers. And if and when the landlord prevails, those tenant records are automatically unsealed to be placed on tenant blacklists, again, for the next 7 years, affecting their credit reports and potentially impacting their ability to get future housing. Let me ask you, colleagues, to just put yourselves in the shoes of tenants. Under current law, if you're a tenant who wins after the 60-day mark, you're still put on this blacklist. If you're a tenant who doesn't receive notice of an eviction, who's named in an eviction lawsuit, but never served with a copy of the complaint because a landlord decides not to pursue the case, you are placed on this blacklist. And if you're a tenant who has a strong defense, but you don't want to cross the 60-day mark, and you decide to leave, this impacts you. Current law impacts you. So a no vote in this instance would impact you if you're one of those 6,000 tenants in the LA area, if you're one of those 500 tenants in San Francisco, if you're one of 1,500 tenants in the San Diego area, and so on and so on. With that, colleagues, we've worked very hard to address the concerns of stakeholders. I'm committed to continuing to do that work. But with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 29. Measure passes. Members, we are going to move back to file item 42. That's AB 2621 by Mr. Gomez. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2621 by Assemblymember Gomez and others, and act relating to school employees.
Mr. Gomez.
Mr. Speaker, members, Assembly Bill 2621 requires schools to send a copy of their school employee code of conduct home in an annual packet at the beginning of each school year, and requires schools that have a website to post the code on their public website. By increasing awareness of the standard that school employees have, we are increasing student safety and school transparency. There is no opposition to this bill. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 74, no 0. Measure passes. We are moving to the consent calendar, members. Does any member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read the second-day consent calendar.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 157 by Assemblymember Hadley and others, relative to the Louis Zamperini Memorial Highway.
The clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members vote who wish to vote. All members vote who wish to vote. All members vote who wish to vote. This is consent calendar. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 74, no 0. Consent calendar is adopted. The clerk will read the remaining bills on the second-day consent calendar.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 159.
Ayes 74, no 0.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 163.
Ayes 74, no 0.
And Assembly Concurrent Resolution 165.
Ayes 74, no 0. Members, we are moving to announcements and adjournments in memory. The following members were granted prior permission to speak on an adjournment in memory. Members, please take your seats and give your respectful attention to the members adjourning in the memory. Mr. O'Donnell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to adjourn in memory of Eric Bradley, a longtime Democratic activist in Long Beach and across our state. Many on this floor have had the honor of calling Eric a friend, and a good one at that. He served as one of the most respected and revered community leaders in Long Beach, and he was a forceful presence in Democratic politics across our state. You can see the impact of his work on this floor. He studied political science at UC Santa Barbara and began his lengthy political career in the 1980s as an aide to then Senator Cranston. He has served as the California Democratic Party Regional Director for South Los Angeles County, as Controller for the Democratic Party, and many other offices. Eric has been instrumental in the election of almost every Long Beach official, including Representative Alan Lowenthal, Representative Ted Lieu, and former Assemblymember Bonnie Lowenthal, and me. He worked for the causes and the people he believed in, and will be dearly missed for his passion and his ability to always have a good time. Eric is survived by his wife, Gail, and his greatest accomplishment and gift to this world, his son, Anders. May God grant his family solace and him peace.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Speaker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I also ask that we rise today to adjourn in the memory of Eric Bradley. Eric Bradley was like a lot of people that you meet when you're involved in politics for a while. You spend time precinct walking with people, phone banking with people, going to dinners with people, but you don't really get to know them for a while. I probably knew Eric that way for a good 15 years, but in the past couple of years, I got to know Eric a heck of a lot better, and I got to know his family. I got to know what he was about. I got to know how he got involved in politics. I learned a lot about Eric over the past 2 years, and the extent to which we encounter people on a daily basis but don't really know them is something that my experiences with Eric over the past couple of years taught me that we can do better sometimes to have brushes with people that are more meaningful and more deeply profound. Our colleague from Long Beach is somebody who I have to credit for getting me close, allowing me to spend more time with Eric. When the campaign office closed in Long Beach 2 years ago, on probably 10, 15 nights throughout that campaign, we'd go across the street, spend time with Eric. Eric was someone who never let your pint glass go empty. He always filled it up. He taught me a lot about Long Beach politics. He taught me a lot about himself. He taught me that Cal State Long Beach has a hockey team and a very lousy hockey team, but that there's probably nothing better to do in Los Angeles in Southern California on a Saturday night than to have a couple of beers and watch some really lousy college hockey. Eric was a wonderful guy, a wonderful activist, a wonderful son of Long Beach, and he'll be greatly missed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. Members, a brief announcement. On behalf of Assemblymember Bigelow, the 42nd Annual Capitol Frog Jump is happening this Wednesday, May 18th, on the east side of the Capitol near the Trout Pond. Prizes will be awarded for the longest and shortest jumps. Please contact Assemblymember Bigelow's office for more information and should you want to participate. The session schedule is as follows: Tuesday, May 17th, check-in session; Wednesday, May 18th, check-in session; Thursday, May 19th, floor session, 9 a.m. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. Seeing and hearing no further business, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Gibson moves and Ms. Olson seconds. That this House stands adjourned until Thursday, May 19th at 9 a.m. Quorum call is lifted.